Hi there, and welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to talk about something that we've talked about it a bit before, and really I'm getting more questions, and so I thought it'd be easiest to just make a video than typing it out 400 times, copying and pasting. But today we're going to talk about sort of how do you meet the needs of gifted or children that have learning difficulties and struggles, because often they end up kind of being in the same space. They might be showing up as gifted, really high IQ, but also have struggles with dyslexia or autism spectrum stuff, all of those things. And can the Waldorf curriculum really meet them? It's a question that I'm hearing a lot. And I really wanted to really tackle this. We have, I have 5 children, and there are varying degrees of neurodiversity within our home. Our oldest is on the spectrum, but has insane gifted abilities in some areas. My second son, 8, and then my third child, my daughter, both have ADHD tendencies. Incredibly smart. Samuel seems to be the most neurotypical, also incredibly smart. And our youngest definitely would fall into that like precocious category of very, very intelligent and very busy. So while I had extreme busyness with my second child in that realm, he was not nearly as busy as our youngest. And so really what I want to tackle is this idea is the Waldorf curriculum enough, or how do you meet these children, and how do you work with these children so that you're meeting their needs? And I know what I'm going to say here today is probably not going to sit well with everybody. That's totally fine. I am absolutely okay with that. I do not subscribe to the idea that I have all the answers. I have the answers for what I believe work well, and within that, it's a lot about parenting as well as sort of, how to meet these children. So first and foremost, I always look at the child that's in front of me. What is it that they're really asking for? What is it that they're really needing? But 9 times out of 10, we can't look at that question or that answer until we look at the whole. So what does family culture look like? Are you getting enough movement? And by movement, I don't mean tossing them out in the backyard. I mean like major movement. So karate has been really helpful for us. So it's exhausting a couple of times a week. The busier your child is, probably the more it would be advantageous to go often. So when we lived in San Diego, our kids were there 4 to 5 times a week. Super helpful. For my youngest. We also walked 3 miles a day from the time she was 4 years old, every day. Every day. Any day that we missed, we always paid for it. So we walked them in 1 mile segments sometimes, because, obviously she would get tired, and we would get tired sometimes, but you need to get enough movement in there. And moving really helps their brain sort of unravel things. So if you can imagine a ball of yarn that's been all tangled, and then their brain gets unraveled, it helps it unravel them when they go for a walk. And then when they go and do heavy exercise. For all of us, neurotypical and neurodiverse, it helps the brain when we have movement. But there is this extra piece that helps children that have these struggles. So, if they're having trouble sitting still, or they're climbing, or they're make sure that you get that movement piece in. Movement, I think, is huge. But another piece with family culture is sleep. A lot of these kids resist sleep, but they need it so much. So I was really blessed. My oldest, that's got autism, he goes to bed religiously, he sleeps 8 hours. It's easy for him. But that's also part of his temperament too. He's phlegmatic. He likes to be cozy. He likes to go to bed. He likes to feel well rested, all of those things. My youngest has had sleep struggles, and she's always had sleep struggles since she incarnated here. We've been challenged with sleep issues, and but you have to continue to work on them. So you can't just say, oh, my child doesn't sleep well. You have to like really go into like, how do you get them to sleep? Often you're missing the sleep window, and they trick us. They trick us because these children are often busy, and then drop like that to go to sleep. So it's about really helping them train their bodies into the space of being ready for sleep. And that's going to have to come from you as a parent, really knowing when and how to pay attention to their cues. So they still need the same sleep requirements. In fact, I think in a lot of instances they need more sleep than neurodiverse children do, just because they are so busy and they're moving so much and their bodies are just in so much motion constantly, that I think that sleep is just, it's so paramount. So that means you also as the parent need to be getting the sleep so that you are then ready to meet that child, because these children are exhausting. They're amazing, but they're exhausting. And so you might just be like, I just don't even know how to keep up with them. And that's where often families come to me and go, I just don't think Waldorf works for us because they're not being fed enough. And actually, and I'll talk about this more in a moment, it's exactly where they should be. But first, like I said, we have to really look at those family culture pieces. So how's your sleep? How's your inner work, your attitude, how you're facing this? If you're facing this child from a place of, oh my gosh, I'm just exhausted all the time, you're going to continue to be exhausted. But if instead you're asking questions like, show me how to meet this child. In meditation every day, I ask Spirit, show me how to meet Soraya's needs. Show me how to meet Samsi's, all my children. Show me how to meet the needs of these children. So when we're in that space of really like seeking guidance for those children, then the answers come to us. Sometimes they come to us right then in, a vision or something is prompted, or they come in a video like this or from somebody else where you go, oh, well, I'm going to try that. And then we work to that. What is a struggle is when you put up a wall and say, no, actually, I know that's not going to work, or I'm not willing to do that. And so really and truly, you want to make sure that you are in a place where you are open and you are open to trying other things. When you're open to trying other things, then you can say, okay, well, there are certain dietary things that I can do that will really help this child, that aren't going to negate the giftedness, but that will help slow them down, that will help feed their body properly. Because sometimes these children have, different things going on neurochemically where they are taking in different resources, food resources in a different way than other children are. So we want to make sure that we optimize what they need for their particular things that are going on. And often it's more protein, definitely less carbs, definitely a very whole food diet. And there are a lot of people that you could look toward, how do you feed the ADHD mind? How do you feed the child that's got dyslexia? And look at some of those things. Those are some great Google searches to do. But then, the next piece is, again, we're sticking with that family culture. What does your rhythm look like? How are you supporting your child's need for rhythm? These children need rhythm. All children need rhythm. All adults need rhythm, but these children seem to be begging for it, even though they're pushing up against it constantly. So your task is to, sort of ask and go, okay, how do I create a rhythm that sort of meets this child's needs? And this child is going to need to be moving a lot. So you'll want to make sure in that family rhythm that, you're getting up and maybe you're going on a walk before you even eat breakfast, or maybe you're going on a walk and you're taking, grabbing a Larabar or grabbing something that you've made and you're out the door with it. Or maybe they can sit through breakfast and you have to go for a 1 hour or more hike or really hard movement after. So you're going to have to adjust things for your home and for your children and to really see what is it that you need. But be willing to sort of take this piece on, because the rhythm piece is so, so important. I like to really work with them having that place of pliable exhaustion early in the day, so that it's like they sleep, and when they have a really good sleep, even when they don't have a good sleep, they're up and they're ready to go. And some of these children are up at 5 and 6, and you can teach them that doesn't mean everybody needs to be up. So my youngest, she gets up usually sometime between 6 and 7, but sometimes she's up at 5:30. She's been up at 4. She's been known to get up at 3, but she's 9. And so at 9, I because I've taught her so well, she knows that she can get up and she can read if she's not going to end up going back to sleep. Or she knows how to turn on a Sparkle story and listen to it on her personal speaker in her room. And so she has those capabilities, and we have taught her how to self-soothe. Because what often happens with these children, and especially between the ages of probably 4 and 8, they're so busy, and we're so worn out. This is where we need to be teaching them, though. This is where we teach them, here are the things that you can do to self-soothe in the morning. And it's not about like running and getting and going all of a sudden at the beginning of the day. So you'll want to sort of really look at your child and really work with what it is that they need. So then, like I said, maybe you're going on a really long walk before you start school, but that's what they need. They need that space. They need that movement to unravel what's built up overnight, to unravel that ball of yarn, right? And get it all like straight and untangled again. And then you can, sort of breathe in and have some school lessons. And then you breathe out and have another space where you're outside and you're moving a lot. And, so many of these things work for all children, but these children that have these special needs, I think so much more so. So then let's talk about like the curriculum specifically, how it meets them, and what you can do when you have a child that's maybe a precocious learner or they want to go deeper. So, in Waldorf, we have the curriculum is laid out by developmental stages, and children learn this way when they are, developmentally ready. Now, a parent of a gifted child might say, oh, but they're ready at 2. They were reading at 2. They were doing all these things at 2. They were calculating all these formulas at 2. They've done all this math. They've done all this. So they should be like, we should just race them ahead. And I want to back you up a little bit. Actually, I want to back you up a lot. The content in the Waldorf curriculum that is perfectly matched for the child is the literature, history, and science content. That doesn't mean you can't let them go ahead in math. That doesn't mean you can't let them read. Your task when you have an early reader is, what do they read? So you'll exhaust all the picture books, you'll exhaust all the appropriate books, because you always want to try to keep the protagonist about the same age as the child when they're in a space where they're reading higher levels of content. They do not have the cognitive ability to understand it. So even though they are advanced in some areas, they are still not cognitively in that same space. So you really want to be very careful about what it is that you're allowing them to read. And maybe even the amount of time that you're allowing them to read. Keep a well balance of reading and then being busy with their bodies, reading and then being busy with their hands. I will tell you that my kids that have neurodiversity are my best knitters, because there's something, it's that piece of working it out, right? A piece of getting that yarn going and seeing it all the way through. When you can get them to slow down enough to teach them, they'll soar. But you've got to really lay that stage and lay that groundwork. And that's, again, about that family culture. What is it how are you showing up to that? How are you approaching that every day? Are you just coming from this place of, I'm just exhausted and I just need something to feed this child? And so you want to feed them with more academics. I would say don't do that. I would say, definitely feed them with what you've got in front of them for the curriculum. But then you can go deeper. So I will give you a good example. So our youngest, she's in 3rd grade. So we're going through, the Waldorf curriculum, 3rd grade, Hebrew stories, all of those things. She's also been super enamored with animals. Like she doesn't ever do dolls. I've tried my last child. Oh, I thought I'd do all these great Waldorf dolls, my last baby, and she'd love it. No, what she loves is animals. She loves animals. She loves dinosaurs. She loves anything that sort of she can nurture in some way, or that she can understand in some way. So we bought her about 3 months ago a DK book that's all dinosaurs. And so she's walking, talking dinosaur encyclopedia right now. She's before, when she was younger, was all dogs and cats. So she has the DK guide to dogs and cats. It's got all of the different, it's got all the different kinds of dogs, all the different kinds of cats, and she'll tell you all kinds of things about all kinds of different animals. That's where we fed that space for her, because the tendency is to just go deeper with more academic work rather than giving them a space of still allowing them to have wonder, still allowing them to be grounded in the natural world. And that's really what I wanted to focus on, keeping her grounded in the natural world. And in doing that, we allowed her to blossom, go deeper, get that need met to like find more things, understand more things, all of that, and then have this balance of the beautiful pieces that are part of Waldorf. So we're balancing it. That the struggle with this child is to help balance them. So you want to feed the need to move as much as possible. And again, that might look at like 3 miles a day and, several classes a week. Swimming is a good one. Swimming would be really good to get the whole body moving and really get them worn out, get those muscles really good and tired. Running on a treadmill, like all of those different things that really help stimulate them, that also at the same time work out what's going on here to bring their bodies down. So then you are allowing them that space to be whole and feel good about themselves. And then allow some other things like, like I said, like the dinosaur book I love DK because they have these great thick books and they're so full of information. And I had to have this conversation with her the other day where she was having this like, did you know blah, blah, blah about Triceratops? And I said, sweetheart, you are the 5th child to study dinosaurs. Yes, I knew, but thank you so much for taking the time to tell me, because it's so much fun. I'm so excited that you are having a good time with this. So when you're in that space, it's really hard sometimes to be patient, right? But the only way you're going to teach them that they need to be patient is to model that for them. I'm definitely not always perfect. I definitely lose it. We were trying to do some sewing project over the weekend and she had to be right here. And I was like, no, you can't be right there. We have to scoot you over just a little bit because this is not the space that I need you to be in. And you have to be able to do that from a kind place, right? So you can't do that if you're not taking care of yourself. So a parent of special needs, you need to take care of yourself, like a lot. If your child qualifies for respite care, you should take it. There are many states in the United States that have respite care, especially if you've got a child with a diagnosis, as an approved diagnosis. So you'll want to do that. If you've got a child that's been through trauma, that's a whole different conversation, and I can recommend a trauma coach to you if that's something that you need. So feel free to drop me a DM. But if we're just talking about kids that are gifted and have some precocious learning things, again, do not give up on the space of beauty. Because if they don't have this space of beauty, then everything will be up in their head. And we don't want that. We want them to be balanced. We really want them to be able to stand in all the places. So in order to do that, we have to drive the boat. So I hope this has been helpful today. I encourage you to drop me a DM if you have questions. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I hope this was helpful. Bye.